Hey guys, welcome back. Today we are going to be talking about solving multi-step equations and isolating variables. This is Math 3, Term 3. So once again, to be prepared for this lesson, I have the lesson in front of me. I always have a calculator just in case. I have my notes because you guys should be taking notes definitely. Pause the video anytime you need to take notes, rewind if you need to, so on and so forth. So solving multi-step equations and isolating variables, this is essentially basic algebra. So stuff that you've learned in the past. What I do to one side, you do to the other, things like that. The opposite of addition is subtraction. The opposite of multiplication is division. So that's exactly what we will be doing in this lesson. So let's just go ahead and get started. So in this first practice example, it says you're converting American dollars to Chinese yuan. You don't have the correct formula, but you have the yuan to dollar formula. Hopefully I'm saying that right, yuan. So I have 2d plus 12 over m equals y, and find how you would convert dollars to yuan by isolating d. So my task here is to isolate d. So basically, I'm going to take this formula and I'm just going to write it over here so I have a little bit more room. 2d plus 12 over m equals y. And once again, d is what I'm trying to solve for or isolate. So I'm just going to work from the outside in. The farthest thing from the d is the m, the next farthest is this 12, and then the next is 2. So you have to work from the outside in to get that d by itself. Another way that people look at it is the opposite of order of operations, but I don't know if I really like that per se because I'm going to do this addition before that multiplication, and I'm going to do the division before the addition. So there's different ways to look at it. I like to look at it from the outside in. You're peeling that onion, outer layer, inner layer, inner layer. So the m is the farthest thing away, and right now it's being divided by m. The opposite of division is multiplication, so I'm going to multiply both sides by m. That will cancel that out, leaving me with 2d plus 12 equals y times m. Next thing is I have this 12 is the next farthest thing away, so it's being added. I'm going to do the opposite of addition is subtraction, minus 12. What you do to one side, you do to the other. So then I get to d equals ym minus 12. Now my last step, my d is almost isolated. What is happening to it right now is it's being multiplied. The opposite of multiplication is division. I'm going to divide by 2. What you do to one side, you do to the entire other side. So then I get d equals ym minus 12 over 2. So you might see the answer like that. You also might see the answer like this. Ym over 2 minus, well, what's 12 divided by 2? 6. So that's the other way you might see the answer. Once d is isolated, your job is done and you've completed the task. So that one is pretty straightforward, and as you can see, they did get 6 by itself, but you don't always have to do that. You want to make sure you remember the quadratic formula because on questions like this, you're going to have to isolate an x value here. Let me go over to the quiz. Because I want to see if I even have questions like that in the quiz before going over it. So I'm just going to quickly scan through these and see if I have any of those quadratic formula types. And I honestly don't think I do. So since that's the case, I'm just going to go ahead and try to show you one of these more difficult or more involved questions. So how about this one? I'm going to solve for x. So in the following radical equation, you are going to solve for x. So I'm going to put this on my notebook. I have solve for x, and it is 10 plus 1/2 times the square root of 2 minus 2x equals 13. So the x value that I'm solving for is right here. And once again, I'm gonna do the outside in. I'm gonna work from the outside in. Right now, the farthest thing on the outside is gonna be that 10. The next farthest is that 1/2. Then it's stuck in a radical, gotta get rid of the radical. Then the 2, then the -2. So as you can see, it kind of is visual, the outside in method. So I know that 10 is positive, and so I'm gonna do the opposite of the 10, which is subtraction. What you do to one side, you do to the other. Then I have 1/2 times the square root of 2 minus 2x equals 13 minus 10 is gonna give me 3. Now I have 1/2 timesing the radical. The opposite of multiplication is division. So I'm gonna divide by 1/2. What you do to one side, you do to the other. Now, if we remember our fraction rules, hold on, let me write it out. Whenever you divide by a fraction, it's the same as multiplying by the reciprocal of the fraction. So 3 divided by 1/2 is the same as 3 times 2 over 1. Isn't that just 3 times 2, which is 6? So that's gonna be 6. If you don't remember that, you guys, your calculator is your best friend for fractions. So I have 3 divided by, I simply parentheses 1 divided by 2 parentheses. So I literally just put parentheses around the fraction. 3 divided by 1/2, enter, 6. Okay, this is a really good trick to have, especially for the ACT, anything where you're being timed. Look how quick that was. All right, now I have everything stuck under a radical. I've got to get it unstuck. You cannot solve for anything that's stuck under a radical. So the opposite of square root is square. What you do to one side, you do to the other. The square and square root cancel, leaving 2 minus 2x equals 6 squared is 36. Now, once again, working from the outside in. The farthest thing away is this 2. It's positive and being added or subtracted, and since it's positive, I'm gonna do the opposite, which is subtract. What you do to one side, you do to the other. -2x equals 36 minus 2 is 34. Last but not least, a lot of people are tempted to add 2 to get rid of that, and that is incorrect. What you have to do is you have to say what is happening to the x. Well, the x is being multiplied by -2. So I have to do the opposite of the multiplication, which is division. What you do to one side, you do to the other. Then I get x equals 34 divided by -2, which is going to give me -17. I always have to double check because sometimes my brain is just not on. -17. So that tells me my x value is going to be -17. It says to type the number below, so I would just get my, let's see, where's my -17? And then I would submit that.